To Ottawa now, federal ministers holding a news conference
on where we are in the process of implementing the public order emergency declared under the Emergencies Act. La raison pour laquelle nous avons recours à la loi sur les mesures d'urgence.
We had recourse to Emergency Acts. It's obvious to anyone who goes downtown Ottawa or tries to cross a border into the United States from many provinces. The illegal occupation and blockades that we are dealing with are unprecedented. I said it Monday, and I repeat it now. Canada is a country of rule of law. And declaring the Emergencies Act respects the law.
Spells out a clear process that must be followed once an emergency is declared. Yesterday, the orders and regulations that allow us to take action were published in the Canada Gazette. They outline in specific terms our clear, targeted, and proportionate response to this crisis. As the Emergencies Act stipulates, the orders and regulations made yesterday must be tabled in the House of Commons within 2 days of their release. That will happen before the end of the day tomorrow. Looking ahead, both the House of Commons and Senate will soon have the opportunity to debate and vote on the emergency declaration. We are required to table the written declaration in both houses within 7 sitting days. As well, Parliament can amend or revoke any orders we have made. This is an important democratic check and balance in the Act. We will be moving quickly to commence debate. Canadians expect and deserve nothing less. La déclaration et les décrets qui en découlent
the
sont
declaration and decrees are temporary. The powers obtained under the declaration expire at the end of 30 days, and we hope to revoke them earlier. But everyone understands that many Canadians are worried about the impact of the Emergencies Act on their rights. I understand your concerns, and I want to reassure you. The law, under emergencies measure, is not a War Times Act.
Limited in scope. It is allowing us to use targeted and proportional measures to help bring the illegal blockades and occupations to an end. And critically, all of our actions under the Emergencies Act will comply with the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. That requirement is built into the legislation itself. It is an important and necessary safeguard. Toutes les mesures prises en vertu de la loi sur les mesures d'urgence
taken under the Emergencies Act must respect the Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
Their government to act within the bounds of the Charter, and we will live up to that expectation. Thank you. Merci. I turn the microphone over to Minister Mendicino.
Merci, David. Bon après-midi, tout le monde. I'd
Good
also like to
afternoon.
acknowledge that I'm joining from the traditional territories of the Algonquin people. Thank you for joining us for today's update on the federal government's ongoing response to the illegal blockade. These illegal blockades pose a national security threat to our borders, our economy, and to the health and safety of all Canadians. To begin, I am pleased to report that 3 of the most important border crossings in Canada are now open to trade and travel. In Alberta, the Coots border crossing reopened yesterday after the successful enforcement operation by the RCMP. In British Columbia, the Pacific Highway border crossing south of Surrey has also reopened after enforcement action, including 12 arrests. And in Windsor, the Ambassador Bridge, where roughly a quarter of Canada's daily commercial trade was blocked for almost a week, is now reopened. And in Manitoba, I can inform that the RCMP and CBSA are hoping to reopen the Emerson border crossing later today. This means that Alberta beef, BC salmon, and Manitoba pork can once again be exported to markets across North America. The successful work that is being done in Windsor by the police service there in conjunction with the RCMP and OPP to end the illegal blockade has resulted in some 50 arrests and 90 charges. This means that families in Windsor, Oakville, Ingersoll, Alliston, and so many other communities know that they will be able to go back to work in the morning and earn a paycheck. Trade is now flowing in both directions, and I'm pleased that factories across southern Ontario have resumed production. And as we know, the RCMP made 13 arrests earlier this week at the Coutts border crossing and seized a significant number of lethal firearms, a large supply of ammunition, body armor, high-capacity magazines, and a machete. And yesterday, 4 men were charged by the RCMP with a conspiracy to murder officers. As the Deputy Commissioner of the RCMP noted, and I quote, Monday's weapons seizure and subsequent arrests speak to the serious criminal activities taking place during the protest and illegal blockades. The dangerous criminal activity occurring away from the TV cameras and social media posts was real and organized. It could have been deadly for citizens, protesters, and officers. We need to be clear-eyed about the seriousness of these incidents. Indeed, several of the individuals at Coutts have strong ties to a far-right extreme organization with leaders who are in Ottawa. We're talking about a group that is organized, agile, knowledgeable, and driven by an extremist ideology where might makes right. And this is completely contrary to our democratic values. On Monday, the government took the deliberate step of invoking the Emergencies Act for the first time in our country's history. The declaration gives targeted, temporary, and special authorities to law enforcement to help them. The powers exercised are intended to give law authorities new tools to not only bring down the blockades, but to prevent future similar ones and threats by maintaining security at our borders, legislatures, and other critical infrastructure. Compte tenu des paramètres de la loi sur les mesures
Given the
d'urgence,
parameters
le
of the
gouvernement
Emergencies
s'attend à
Act,
ce
the
que ces pouvoirs
government
temporaires
expect
soient exercés
these
par les forces de
temporary
l'ordre de
powers
façon responsable,
to be exercised
de
professionally,
concert avec les autorités provinciales et
in
étatales,
concert
et
with
toujours dans
all
le respect
police
de la
services
Charte.
and always observing the Charter.
La déclaration
The
et les
declaration
décrets qui en
and decree
découleront aideront la police et les autres autorités
give
compétentes à mettre
authorities
fin
and police the powers to quickly and peacefully end the illegal blockages and maintain essential corridors open. It will mobilize essential services, equipment quickly. The RCMP may be deployed more quickly for provincial and local law enforcement. In addition, this act gives temporary powers to banks and financial institutions to stop the influx of products and currencies that would help the illegal blockades.
The orders which detail exactly how the act will be implemented. In particular, it outlined how an individual must not participate in a public assembly that may be reasonably expected to lead to a breach of the peace. I'm pleased to say that earlier today, that local authorities here in Ottawa began to issue warnings under that provision. There are also provisions under the declaration that allows us to dispute the movement of people or trade interfering with critical infrastructure or supporting or threatening violence against people or property. Over the past 3 weeks, we have seen all of this and more on the streets of Ottawa and at major border crossings, and it must stop. This is a serious situation. We must resist the temptation to dismiss these as isolated incidents. At the core of the movement is anger, animosity, and in far too many cases, violence. We're seeing it play at our borders, in front of our legislatures, our national symbols, and in our communities and in our neighborhoods. Unfortunately, many residents in Ottawa have had the same experience. La situation dans la
The
capitale
situation
nationale
in the national capital remains very grave, and that's exactly the reason why we took the important measure of invoking the Emergencies Act. Since the beginning of this situation, we have committed to Canadians to mobilize all tools at our disposal to help them regain their life. As I've already said, the situation in downtown Ottawa is completely unacceptable. The Emergencies Act will give police new powers to master the situation.
To those who may be thinking to come to Ottawa this weekend, don't. At best, the residents of the city have made it clear that this is not the time. And at worst, you may be tying yourself to dangerous criminal activity. This has been an extraordinarily difficult 2 years for all Canadians, and everyone's mental health has suffered. But for those who've had their community occupied or can't go to work or can't live their lives, the past 3 weeks have been simply unacceptable, and it's unsustainable. We owe it to them and to all Canadians to end the illegal blockades and to help get Canadians' lives back. Thank you. Merci, and I will now turn it over to my colleague and friend, Minister Bill Blair.
Well, thank you very much, Minister Mendicino and Minister Lametti, and good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here with us today. As you have heard, on Monday, our government invoked the Emergency Act in order to supplement and support provincial and territorial authorities to address the ongoing blockades at a number of key border crossings across the country, as well as to help deal with the serious situation that we are seeing here in Ottawa. Let me acknowledge to you all that this is not a decision that we came to lightly. We recognize this is a very significant step that requires both caution and a tremendous amount of care. And let me assure everyone watching here today that the measures that we have brought forward are targeted, temporary, and proportionate to the threat that exists in our country. I listened very carefully to the leader of the NDP this morning, who asked that these measures be implemented with care and with consideration, and we agree. It is important as well for Canadians to recognize that the Emergency Act requires that every action be charter compliant and that at all times their rights and freedoms will be respected. Additionally, everything that is being done through this Act is subject to parliamentary oversight and to review. These measures were only invoked after exhausting all other options, and it is our very sincere hope that we will be able to lift them as quickly as possible. We did this in order to keep Canadians safe, to protect our economy, to restore confidence in and sustain our institutions, and to ensure the safety of our citizens. I'd like to take the opportunity to recognize the work of the Windsor Police and the Ontario Provincial Police and other police services across Ontario, as well as, of course, the RCMP, in reopening and securing the Ambassador Bridge in Windsor. The same can be said for the extraordinary and important work of the RCMP at the Coutts border crossing in Alberta, the Pacific Highway border crossing in British Columbia, and in Emerson, Manitoba. But we have also seen strong evidence that it was the intention of those who blockaded our ports of entry in a largely foreign-funded, targeted, and coordinated attack, which was clearly and criminally intended to harm Canada, to harm Canadians, to interrupt vital supply lines, to idle our workers and close our factories. And it demanded that we all do what was required in order to restore this integrity and security of our borders and to protect Canadian interests. While we thank, quite sincerely, those law enforcers and our provincial and territorial partners who have worked hard to this, let me also state unequivocally, we respect provincial authority over policing in their jurisdictions. But I believe all Canadians also recognize that the Government of Canada has a responsibility to protect the safety and security of our international borders, to ensure that Canadian interests are addressed, and we will do what is required to protect our country. I'd also note that since the announcement of the measures we intended to take and have now taken through the gazetting of these measures, we've seen significant progress. We saw, for example, excellent and important enforcement conducted by the RCMP in Coutts, Alberta, where, as Minister Mendicino's indicated, a large number of weapons have been seized and people have now been charged with serious criminal offenses directed towards our law enforcement officers. But we've also seen that the acknowledgement and recognition by many of the people at those protests in Coutts, in Emerson, in British Columbia, when they realized that their activities would come under greater financial scrutiny and consequence. They have done what rational people would do, and they are beginning to leave and open those borders. We are achieving what we intended to achieve with these measures, and we're doing it in the most proportionate and measured way possible. With commercial vehicles now traveling unimpeded through these ports of entry, grocery store shelves are being stocked, factories and businesses are receiving parts and supplies they need, and most importantly, hard-working Canadians are able to get back to work. In Ottawa, I want to acknowledge that we are seeing progress in the effort to end the unlawful occupation that has had a devastating impact on residents for nearly 3 weeks. Yesterday, Acting Chief Stephen Bell confirmed that the Ottawa Police Service has the resources in partnership with the Ontario Provincial Police and the RCMP and other police services from across Ontario. And as well, they now have the authorities of both the Government of Canada and the Government of Ontario to end the illegal demonstration that has disrupted the City of Ottawa for far too long. We will provide support to our law enforcement officials to restore the rule of law and a safer environment for the people of Ottawa. As of this morning, the Ottawa Police Service has been serving notice to individuals who are blocking Wellington Street to remind them that illegal behavior that they are engaging in will have consequences and our laws will be enforced. We will continue to support our law enforcement partners, our municipal and provincial partners, as they work together through the Integrated Command Centre to restore order to our community and to uphold our laws. These illegal blockades have shown us that our supply chains are fragile, and when attacked in a coordinated and concerted effort, we must respond, and we must respond with resolve and with strength. We cannot leave anyone with the impression that our democracy is negotiable or subject to efforts of appeasement. Canada is a strong and democratic nation. We will not let any foreign entities that seek to do harm to Canada or to Canadians erode trust in our democratic institutions or question the legitimacy of our democracy. And as Minister Lametti stated on Monday, Canada is a rule of law country, and by declaring a public order emergency under the Emergencies Act, we are following the law and we are acting within it. Thank you very much for listening to our remarks. I would now open it up to any questions you may have.
So we'll start with questions in the room.